And welcome to ENZYMENTAL. I'm Jason Carter, and because you've heard me talk quite a bit about inflammation, I wanted to tell you today a little bit more about what inflammation exactly is and how it can go horribly wrong. So inflammation is a normal process, and it's intended to protect us from infections and promote healing when we're injured. The most familiar type of inflammation is sudden and acute, like when you burn yourself in the kitchen, overuse your muscles while moving furniture, or injure your tendons when playing sports. The injured area swells, turns red, and becomes tender to the touch. Under normal circumstances, inflammation helps you heal and can even save your life. So as an example, if you cut your finger with a knife, bacteria from the knife, the air, or the surface of your skin immediately penetrate the breach. Unchecked, these bacteria would quickly spread through your bloodstream and kill you. Your body's immune system almost immediately recognizes these bacteria as foreign, however, and unleashes a coordinated attack to contain and stop the infection. Inflammation encourages tiny blood vessels in your finger to dilate, allowing a variety of white blood cells to leak out, track, and engulf bacteria. Some of these white blood cells also pick up and destroy cells damaged by the cut. In addition, inflammation signals the body to grow new cells to seal the cut. Within a day or two, your cut finger becomes less inflamed, and a few days later, it's completely healed. Your body responds in a similar fashion if you strain a muscle when you lift a box that's too heavy or overexert yourself during sports. The resulting inflammation, characterized by swelling, pain, and stiffness, is designed to remove damaged muscle cells and help initiate the healing process to replace those cells. That's healthy inflammation, and this is how inflammation should function. But what happens when inflammation goes wrong, when inflammation becomes chronic? Chronic inflammation degrades our bodies and makes us much more susceptible to disease. Inflammation forces millions of people with arthritis to alter their daily lives, and it compels millions of other people with asthma to be cautious because they don't know when their next suffocating attack will occur. Millions of other people with multiple sclerosis, lupus, diabetes, and other disorders also suffer from chronic inflammation. It's even worse when two or more of these inflammatory conditions coexist at the same time, and this greatly increases the risk of developing even more serious inflammatory diseases. So what causes this ongoing buildup of inflammation? Think about someone who is overweight, which is a condition that affects at least 2/3 of Americans and growing numbers of people in most other developed countries. Excess weight contributes to inflammation because fat cells secrete chemicals like interleukin-6 and c-reactive protein that promote inflammation themselves. Being overweight increases the risk of developing many other diseases, and part of the reason is related to the undercurrent of inflammation. If you're overweight, you have a greater risk of developing adult-onset diabetes, which is otherwise known as type 2 diabetes, and this also has a strong inflammatory component. Diabetic inflammation is related to being overweight, to having elevated blood sugar and insulin levels, and to consuming too many refined carbohydrates like white bread and pasta. Having diabetes also heightens your chances of suffering from periodontitis, which is a type of dental inflammation. Each of these disorders, overweight, diabetes, and periodontitis, is serious by itself, but as the inflammation in these disorders continues year after year, it also increases the risk of developing coronary artery disease, an inflammatory disease of the blood vessels. Each inflammatory disorder has an additive effect, aggravating the body's overall level of inflammation and the risk of succumbing to some very serious diseases. Here's another example for you. Allergies stir up the inflammatory response, which can provoke rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune or self-allergic disease. Infections also trigger an immune response, and chronic infections and inflammation account for at least 30% of cancer. Serious head injuries and their resultant brain inflammation increase the long-term risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, which doctors are beginning to view as an inflammatory process itself. Unless inflammatory problems are controlled or reversed, they do tend to get worse over time, creating a cascade that leads to more serious inflammatory diseases like coronary heart disease and Alzheimer's. So this should give you an idea of the major difference between healthy inflammation and unhealthy or chronic inflammation. We all deal with chronic inflammation in some form, and thankfully there are numerous natural compounds and supplements available to help us reduce chronic inflammation. Some of these would include very common supplements like vitamin C, niacin, vitamin D, magnesium, and even therapeutic enzymes. But one of the easiest ways to begin reducing chronic inflammation is to adjust your diet. Specifically, throw out anything that's made with sugar, white flour, or anything processed, because all of these things are hyper-inflammatory. Thanks for watching. I'm Jason Carter, and I'll see you next time on ENZYMENTAL. Stay healthy.